So for the record, my name is Macy. I am the JLC president, and this is the clinic on how to be a president. All right, so here we go. So basically, the biggest responsibility of a president is leading the meeting. There are several different roles of the president. A lot of these actually apply to different leadership positions too. But a big one is being a good example of leadership for other members. That's really important. Another one is to preside effectively at all your meetings. You also should be able to utilize basic parliamentary procedure, communicate with members and parents. You support and assist the officer team. So basically that's your treasurer, that's your secretary, that's your VP, and that's also your parliamentarian or your scrapbooker. And you also help manage club events that other committees or officers may be planning. So what makes a good leader? This one's actually really applicable for every aspect of life. The more I do this, the more I'm like, oh, being a good leader, means you can lead in school, means you can lead in sports, means you can lead in other clubs. But one of the biggest ones that I've learned is that being confident goes a long way. If you're more confident, you'll be basically more assertive and people will take you a little more seriously and more things will get done. You should also be humble as well as being confident. There's a good combination that goes with those. If you can be humble and take criticism with grace and poise, but also be ready to listen to other members, that's really important too. Every officer needs to be organized. But that one kind of goes without saying. You should also always be composed, retain your composure, even in heated arguments or debates in a club. And you should be a listener. The president is the mediator of the club. They're the listener of the club. But, every officer should always be a listener. That's really, really important. So like I said, the biggest role of a president is running a meeting. To do that, you have to plan, you have to prepare. You always show up early. So every officer should always be showing up early, 10 to 15 minutes to help set up, to get stuff ready. The president should always start a meeting on time. They should follow an agenda and then end on time. You should be the last to leave. All the officers should be the first ones in and the last ones out to help clean up and respect the facility. So every meeting follows a agenda. It starts out with a call to order. You go to the Pledge of Allegiance, the 4-H pledge, the introductions of new members, the roll call of existing members, and then the secretary will read the minutes from the previous meeting. The treasurer will read the treasurer's report. Then you have unfinished business, which is business that basically spills over from the previous meeting. You have new business and announcements, which is business. When I say business, it's basically just like what you're going to be talking about at the meeting, material basically for that meeting. And then you also bring up announcements, like I said before. And then you bring up your program. A program is kind of like the extra bonus stuff to your club. It's like why people come. So if you're doing an activity, if you have a guest speaker, if you have demonstrations, those all fall under the program. It's like the exciting part. Then you have the reminders. So that is basically like when the next meeting will happen. And then any action items. So like basically an action item could be, don't forget to sell your content tickets. That's a good one. And then you adjourn on time. You always finish your meeting on time. Do you know what parliamentary procedure is? I just want to get a feel. You do? Okay, awesome. So I'll just refer to it as Parli-Pro since it's a little less of a mouthful. So Parli-Pro is basically the rules by which a meeting is governed. There are 3 steps. You have a member that makes a motion, you have debate and discussion on that motion, and then you vote. Can you tell me what a motion is? If you know.
Sure. It's like the proposal, so they'll be like, Madam President, I move that the minutes are approved as read, something like that.
Yeah, that's actually perfect, right? It's a formal proposal by a member of an assembly that the assembly takes certain action. So it's basically, like you said, a member asking that something be done, that the club do something. You use it to adjourn. You use motions to accept reports, like your example. You use it to accept the secretary's report, and you generally use it to just bring up business. To make a motion, like you said, you start off by raising your hand, and you have to be recognized by the president. You have to be called on. Then you basically state your motion. You say, like you said, Madam President, I move that we buy pizza. And then you have a second for that motion. So someone else would say second, or I second that. And then the president would repeat the motion. So the president would say, it has been moved and seconded that we buy pizza. I'm just going to use that as an example. You debate and discuss the motion after it's made. So whoever made the motion can speak first. So say, you make the motion, you have the right to speak first on it. Everyone can speak up to 2 times. That keeps debate limited. And then to speak on a motion, you basically just have to be called on. Just raise your hand and you say, Madam President or Mr. President, and you wait to be called on. And then once you're recognized, you can just speak your mind. Then voting comes. The president takes the vote. It's also called putting the question, by saying all those in favor, raise your hand, or all opposed, raise your hand. You can also do a voice vote. So a voice vote works when, if it's something like the secretary's minutes that you're like, yeah, they're probably going to be approved. So in that case, you would say, all those in favor say aye, all those opposed say no. And then the president announce the results of the vote by saying the ayes have it and the motion carries or passes. And then you would say, therefore, the club will order pizza. And that's the result of the vote, basically. Or you could say the noes have it and the motion is lost. Therefore, the club will not order pizza. All right. Do you have any questions? That's just basically a super brief overview of Probably Pro, how the president uses it. And yeah, any questions on that? No questions. All right, then. Stop the share.